Hello everyone, it's me Jamie. Welcome back to a video in this area that's insane to me, that's crazy, that's weird. Also notice the amazing camera quality. Chloe is lending me one of her like Canons, so for the first time ever I'm not filming on my phone. I literally have my phone right here. That's honestly probably not that exciting for most people, but like very exciting for me. It feels very weird. I feel like a professional for the first time in my life. But hi, today as you can see by the title, I'm just doing a May and June wrap up. It is kind of a lie though, because I read nothing in June, but at the end of the video I can tell you a little bit about what I've been up to in June, because yeah, I was posting videos kind of here and there, but really not much, and I feel like I kind of need to update you guys on my life. But yeah, I think I've got maybe 5 or 6 books to talk about that I read in May, so let's just get straight into it. I will try my best to remember my thoughts about them, but because it's been over like a couple of months ago, it might take me a while. But let's just get straight into it, I guess. So the first book I read in May was We Sold Our Souls by Grady Hendrix. I got this out from the library back home and it took me quite a while to read it. I think I read it over the space of like 3 or 4 weeks, but it was pretty good. I did give it 3 stars, but 3 stars is a pretty good rating for me. It means that like while it isn't a favorite, it wasn't like stunning, it is a book that I enjoyed. This is an adult horror book as well, and I think I was just like very much in the horror like thriller mood when I read this, because yeah, I did really like it. I guess the one thing I have to say about this is that it is rather forgettable, which is making it hard for me to talk about now, especially because I read it right at the beginning of May. I read it like over April and May. Yeah, it was kind of forgettable, but I did really like the characters and I found the concept to be really interesting. Basically it's about this death metal band that has fallen apart. One of the members, who kind of betrayed everyone else in the band, has gone on to be this like super famous person, and basically he sold his soul over to the devil, and his bandmates are kind of really paying the consequences of that. They are honestly like just seeing a lot of crazy shit, and they are also just running from like the devil's minions. It's really weird. But when it comes to horror, I really like weird shit, and this is gonna sound really random, but when it comes to literature, films, like media, I love media that is inspired or features the devil or Satanism or anything like that. It's not something that I would ever want to participate in my real life, but I just love reading, watching stories about that. So this was something that was definitely very much up my alley. I definitely don't think it was the most well-written horror that I have ever read. I think there were moments that really dragged on. The beginning was honestly quite boring. Like I didn't think that I would like it as much as I did. But Grady Hendrix, I've read 2 books by him now, and I just think he's really good at writing things that remind me of like trashy cult horror films, and so his vibes and his stories are always very interesting to me. And yeah, like I said, we had a really badass like strong female lead, which I really appreciated. We had another female character who was like a side character who was like a fan of the band that somehow gets involved into the situation as well, and she was honestly badass to read about. Like all the female characters were really strong, and I genuinely feel that way about all of Grady Hendrix books. I think a lot of his books feature women. He is, you know, he's a rarity. He's a male author that can write female characters really well. So yeah, I liked it for all those reasons. I just think the writing style was a little draggy at sometimes. The pacing was really off, to be honest. Like I don't know what that pacing was, but apart from that, it was like a pretty good read, and you know, I would recommend it to horror lovers. If you are a big horror fan, and if you're a fan of this author's other works, then I definitely do recommend it. Like I think it's very enjoyable. It's just not the best horror book that I have ever read. Yes, 3 out of 5 stars. Next, I read Blood Promise by Rochelle Mead. This is the 4th book in the Vampire Academy series. If you have been around on my channel for like basically this entire year, you'll know that I've been really into rereading the Vampire Academy series. The Vampire Academy series is a series that I read when I was really young, like high school, like 14, 15, 16. I read it over those years as they were coming out. This one was really good. Obviously it's a reread, and this is one of the ones that I really remembered the most because it's where a lot of the action happens. It was interesting rereading it as an adult because I didn't remember the beginning being as boring as it was, but the ending, it just really paid off. I think the ending and the climax, it was just so satisfying. Like it was such a good conclusion, and I think it was really worth the interesting pacing at the beginning. Like when you get to the end, you're just like, yes, I cannot wait to pick up the next book. Like the cliffhanger in it was just stunning. I think our main character Rose in this book is really faced with stuff that she has never faced before. Like this was kind of the first time that we saw Rose give in to her weakness, and I think that's just such an excellent thing for the author to do. Like it's just honestly really boring when an author just makes their character really strong, really badass the entire way through, but seeing Rose really fall into this trap and be weak for like a good few chapters was just really, really great. It wasn't frustrating, it was just like, okay, we're seeing this really human side of Rose, which I really loved. Obviously, I missed the presence of Lissa a little bit because she is in this a bit less, but her arc and her storyline was still just as good. Was really sad about how a certain couple ended up at the end, but I still really love this book. Like, these books will never be 5 stars for me. I did rate this 4 stars, but they are nothing if not entertaining. I would die for Vampire Academy. It's like, honestly, one of my favorite nostalgic, trashy YA reads. I would die for it. I live for it, and I cannot wait to get on to the next one. The next book I read in May was actually another horror, and it is Mexican Gothic by Sylvia Moreno Garcia. I loved this. I rated it 4 stars, but honestly thinking about it now, I think if I reread it, I would rate it 5. It was kind of everything that I wanted and expected from it, and it was just stunning. It was really short, so I read it so quickly, and I don't think it needed anything else or could have gotten rid of anything else. Like it was the perfect length and had the perfect amount of content. I think this book is one that you really think it's going in one direction and then it really switches up on you and goes somewhere completely different, goes somewhere almost like supernatural, and I just really liked the versatility in this book, and seeing this author's works for the first time, it was just excellent. Like the beginning was really funny almost, like the author's writing was really hilarious. It really reminded me of kind of this like Oscar Wilde-esque writing. I mean, we follow like society people in the 1930s, I think, or the 1940s. Oh, 1950s. We're following like 1950s socialites. So the way they talk about each other and talk about like marriage and relationships is just really, really funny. Yeah, it has that almost Oscar Wilde wit where it kind of is almost making fun of rich high society people, which I really, really enjoyed. But then when we get into the horror, it's just a really, really good horror novel. Like it's spooky and it's weird, and I love books that really throw you through a loop and are really weird and make you think about them and being like, what the fuck was that? So this was just like so for me. I think our main character was excellent. She was just such a stunning character. Really, I really love how Sylvia Moreno Garcia almost has these like feminist conversations about gender in the 1950s in high society. Like our character was really unlikable to her peers because she was the strong female character who's like, I'm not gonna get married, like I'm just living my life. And seeing it from the perspective of like a modern woman where that's completely normal, it was just really cool. I don't know, I just loved it. Yeah, like I said, the pacing was amazing, the plot was amazing, the characters were amazing. I definitely want to reread this at some stage in the next couple of years just to remind myself of how much I love horror and love these sorts of novels, and I'm definitely going to be reading more from this author. I just think it was excellent, and I really have nothing else to say about it. I don't know why I gave it 4 stars, it really should be 5. Next, I read Birthday Girl by Penelope Douglas. This is a new adult romance, and I rated this 3 stars. I'm really starting to think Penelope Douglas is a one-hit wonder for me. I would die for Punk 57. Like, Punk 57 is one of my like favorite romance books of all time. Would die for it, absolutely love it, but this just didn't hit the mark. It was still enjoyable, it was still an easy read, it was just not as interesting and not as fun. Considering this is a book about a girl and her boyfriend's dad and the romance between them, I really wanted this to be a little bit more dramatic than it was. Like every video that I've seen, every person I've seen talk about this is like, oh, it's so taboo, you need to go in knowing that it's really taboo, it's really like, you know, you need to like have an open mind. I feel like I really didn't need to have an open mind. Like I kind of was just like, yeah, this is just like a normal romance, but it's between an older man and a younger girl. Like I really wanted more drama, more dramatic scenes. I wanted there to be like debauchery and deceit and all that stuff, and I just feel like I didn't get that. It was still like a good romance, like I still enjoyed it, and like the smart, like of course, like it's Penelope Douglas, it's always going to be good, but I just feel like it wasn't as intense or dramatic as I was expecting. And maybe that's me because I went in like with these really big expectations to just be like shocked and being like, oh my god, that's intense. But it just really didn't take me in that direction. I think it's also because I've read Credence by Penelope Douglas, which is like one of the worst books I've ever read, but also one of the most intense. And so it's like, I feel like nothing can really shock me now. Like, I feel like this just didn't give me what I was expecting and what I wanted. The characters also were a little bland. Like, they were very boring. I think I liked our female main character. I can't really remember because I did read this like over a month ago. I think I liked her, but the guy, like, I was just like, sure, he has DILF vibes. He like, I'm sure he like sounds hot, but I wanted him to be a little bit more badass. I wanted him to be a little bit more toxic. I don't go in to Penelope Douglas's works with like, oh, I really hope I get a wholesome romance here. Like, I want the toxic relationship, because I don't want that in my real life, but I want it in my fiction. And the fact that I didn't get that, I was just kind of like, gross. Like, it was a toxic relationship between her and her boyfriend, but like, who cares about her like college boyfriend? I want to hear about the DILF. That's kind of all I have to say about this. Yeah, sorry, this wrap up's gonna be a bit shit because I don't remember anything, but yeah, Birthday Girl. Definitely want to read more Penelope Douglas. At the moment, I've read Birthday Girl, Bully, Punk 57, and I'm in the middle of Corrupt, and I've read Credence. Punk 57 is by far the best, like, that's 5 stars. Credence was disgusting. Bully was better than Birthday Girl, but still kind of bland, kind of boring. Corrupt is pretty good, but it's on the same level as Bully, and I think it's because I don't love the characters as much. Like, it has the toxicity that I like, but yeah, can someone just, I know there are so many videos out there about like Penelope Douglas and her works, but someone just give me like the perfect recommendation, please. I will be reading Tristix Venom. Actually, maybe that will be the next Penelope Douglas I read, or I'll read the rest of the Bully series, because I've heard that the rest of the Bully series is better than the first book. Anyway, moving on. Next, I read The Hunting Party by Lucy Foley. This is an adult thriller. It's also my first 1-star book of the year. This was so bad. I honestly, like, I wish I could talk about how I hated it so much, but I've blanked so much of it out of my mind because of how bad it was. It was just a thriller that had so many different characters. None of the men were really focused on. That's fine by me. I don't really care. But a lot of the women, like, we really focused only on like this one character, and it's just kind of like, if you're going to have this huge cast, make it interesting. There were some things that were like said that had happened in this like really dramatic friend group that were never brought up again, and it's just kind of like, why even include this? I feel like Lucy Foley had so many ideas and none of them were executed well at all. Like, even the plot twist, even the big like thing, it was not executed well. I guessed some of the plot twists. I guessed like one relationship based plot twist, but I did not guess the killer, and that's just me. I don't try and guess, but the fact that I like guessed one already, it was just kind of like, okay, I know this is gonna be bad. Like, I know this is gonna be shit. It was also really boring considering how dramatic the like final events were. The book itself was really boring. I just couldn't get into it. None of the characters appealed to me. They all kind of blended into one. I read The Guest List by Lucy Foley, the same author, and that had so many ideas and so many characters, but was executed really well. Like, everything really interwove and everything was focused on very intensely. Like, things really came to this big conclusion, and so the climax and the plot twists were all very worth it, but I just feel like The Hunting Party did not earn the climax that it had. So it made it really unsatisfying and just kind of like, oh cool, that's a book that I read. Great. I don't know about thrillers. There are some thrillers that I read and I'm like, this is one of the best books I've ever read. Like, this is so entertaining, so fast. And then there are some thrillers that I read and I'm just like, this was the worst book I've ever read. Like, most of the 1 stars that I have given have been for thrillers. So it's a genre that I really like reading, but I don't know if I really like the books themselves. I don't know. Can someone also, I know this is turning into a recommend me books video, but can someone recommend me a thriller that had them at the edge of their seat? I love Gone Girl, one of my favorite books. I love Riley Sagar. Not so much Lock Every Door, but Final Girls and Last Time I Lied I really enjoyed. There are other thrillers I like. Just give me 1 second. I also really liked The One by John Mars, and I really liked You, like, by Caroline Kepnes. Those are the thrillers that I really enjoyed. I also, in terms of YA, I really liked Sadie, but I can't really think of anything else. Like, if you have good thrillers, please let me know, because they're really easy to read. I like and enjoy reading them, but I just haven't found like my thriller apart from Gone Girl, because that's 5 stars. So yeah, please recommend, because The Hunting Party was just trash, like 1 star. And then next I read The House in the Cerulean Sea by TJ Klune. I managed to get to, I think, maybe 140 pages of this, and then I just decided to DNF it. So I didn't rate this book. I just don't think I was in the right mindset to read it. This was right before I went into my reading slump in June, so it was like I just wasn't in the mood to read. And the thing is, I can see that objectively it's really good writing. It's really whimsical. It tells like what I think is probably going to be a really beautiful story. I was just really bored. It might be a book that I go back to, but I just really didn't connect to anything about it. I didn't connect to the world, I didn't connect to the storytelling, and I didn't connect to the characters. It honestly could be where I was in life at that stage, and therefore might be a book that I pick up again in the future and really give it a go, maybe like a couple of years from now, because I see that everyone really loves it and everyone has nothing but good things to say about it. Just at that time, I was bored. I was just really bored, and I just was like, this just doesn't have the vibes that I wanted, that I expected from it. I think the writing style really reminded me of Lemony Snicket. It had really Lemony Snicket vibes, and that was a series that I really loved when I read it when I was younger. But the payoff, like, I just didn't, for some reason I just didn't connect to it. It had all the ingredients that I would have wanted, which is like whimsy and humor and like a big cast of characters and like magical realism and all that stuff. It had a lot of the ingredients that make a really good book for me. There was just something about it that I just didn't love, and I can't explain it.
Yes! Oh my god!
Literally die! Oh!
Oh my god, that was the best reaction. Oh, I think that's the first time I scared you.
Never do that. I'm gonna put this in. It's gonna be a fucking jump scare for the audience as well. Oh my god.
Sorry guys.
Take me out of this house. I'm living in a fucking haunted house right now.
Sorry,
and she's the demon.
Oh my gosh.
Okay. Well,
come back.
Back to it.
Alright.
Back to it. Back to it. I don't really have anything else to say about The House in the Cerulean Sea, to be honest. Like, thank you, Chloe, for the perfect ending. Okay. Yeah, so those are all the books that I read in May and June. I think that I'm definitely going to be reading more in July. Like, I'm definitely more in the reading mood. I'm really feeling it. I think there'll be better books. I think I'll enjoy books more. So keep an eye out for like vlogs and wrap-ups and stuff like that, because this one, yeah, I know it's been a bit like, what am I talking about? But that's just the mindset that I was in May and June. And yeah, in June it was just like, I'd finished a really big job. I started planning my move to Australia. I was just really focused on like life and my social life and just stuff like that. I was also like feeling a bit gross because I had just finished this big job and it was really emotionally draining. So I think I also really needed to like get back to Jamie and like leave the character that I was playing behind. So that's really what I spent June doing. Like, I really wasn't ready for escapism just yet. Like, I was just kind of like, no, I need to sit in myself for a little bit. So that's why I didn't read anything in June. So I'm sorry for the misleading title, because this is literally just a May wrap up, to be honest. But yeah, thank you everyone for watching this video. Expect to see many more in this area, in this location. I hope you enjoyed. Let me know what books you read in the past 2 months, and let me know your thoughts on some of the books that I have read and talked about. A reminder that all my links to my social medias are down below, and I'll see you very soon in the next video.
Twitch.tv/whoisthevloggirl.
Every time you just talk about my Twitch, I appreciate it. But yeah, thank you everyone, and I'll see you very soon. Bye!
Bye!
She said, Cindy, don't cry, and I don't want